Hello everyone, I hope you're all safe. And today we are not doing the usual pick a card reading, but today through the tarots we are trying to explore the various inquiries which comes immediately into one's mind once they initiate their spiritual journey. And then we get so much eagerness, and we want to spend our time reading sources, articles, materials, books, scripts from which we can get the answers to our deeper conscious levels, the questions which are like raising like a high tidal waves in our deeper consciousness. So this is my little effort to share my experiences or share the answers, the solutions which also were in my deeper conscious levels or in my conscious mind. And this is what I have understood through my spiritual journey. So today we are going to look into the differences between the opposite sides of some of the inquiries. So the first one we will learn is the difference between the matter and the antimatter. The second difference we are going to learn is between the spirituality and the religion. The spiritual person versus the religion. The third difference is between the positive forces and the negative forces. The demons and the deities. Okay? And the fourth difference between the real gurus and the masterminds. So real gurus versus masterminds. And the last inquiry is the soul versus the physical body. So for each inquiry zone, I have two tarot cards, so that you will also get an image, visualize, so that it will increase your creativity, your imagination. So let's proceed with the first zone, that is the matter and the antimatter. So I have two cards here. This is the matter and this is the antimatter. So once you initiate your spiritual journey, the immediate question which comes to your inquiry is how this world is created. Who created this world? Or who created this universe? From where all these planets and the galaxies or the black holes and so many, like the cosmic forces, the universal forces, the air, water, who created them? From where did all this originated? So for this, we have to understand that how the world was in being. Okay, before the world originated, what happened? So through Antariksh Puran, I have got this understanding that the world emerged from nothing, from the zero, from the shunya. The shunya is the zero. From the zero originated the Shakti, or the power of creation, and from the Shakti emerged the matter. And the creation of the world was through mere coincidence of matter and antimatter, which we also summarize as quark and anti-quark. So that is how the world was created. So the first two opposite forces came into existence, which constantly collided with each other, which made them again like disappear. So this opposite forces, the quark and the anti-quark, the matter and the antimatter, existed for number of times, and every time they collided, their identity was lost. But somehow a speck was able to get off, or got out of the reaction, and through which the electrons, the protons, the neutrons, the matter, and the microscopical organisms, what we call unicellular organisms, then the invertebrates, the vertebrates, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, the planets, the sun, the moon, the earth, the stars, everything was created. Okay, so one of the interesting facts is that the stars which we observe every night in the sky, actually the star is gone from that place a long time ago, a number of light years ago. It is not there. So that is just the witness the star was there. Okay, that the star was present in that place because it is giving the twinkling light. And it is also the fascinating fact that in the universe, in the whole cosmos, only 1% of the things which we see, which we observe, are the things which can hold the light, or which can absorb the light. Okay, so visible things are only 1%, and the rest 99% of the universe is dark. Okay, so we get mesmerized by looking things which are visually which we can see, but the truth is that 99% of the universe is still to be explored. So we are in just the beginning stage of our exploration. And who is this world? We think that the earth is the only place where human beings exist, or where life exists. But actually, according to Antariksh Puran, which is also one of the scientific guides, everything mentioned in that Puran is also very scientific, because each and everything mentioned there is coming up as scientific, new scientific projects and research. So according to that, there are number of earths in the universe. Okay, there are so many galaxies, and there are so many planets which are like earth, or which are reflections of earth. And each world has the creator, and that creator is the Brahma. So we have the image of the Brahma in the Hindu religion as a five-faced god, or a deity. I don't want to use the term God, because God is the Western abstract. The Sanatana Dharma says deities. So okay, so each world has its own creator, and that creator is the Brahma. So that is the first inquiry which I tried to explain as I have understood it, as I have perceived it. And the Brahma, or the creator himself, there's a small story of the bigger ego of the Brahma being crunched. So that story, I think I will tell you in some other video, because I don't want to make this video longer. I just want to understand, make you understand the difference between the opposite forces. So the world created with the opposite forces, and the opposite forces prevailed since then. Okay, so next query, or the next question which triggers, is the question of the difference between the spirituality and the religion. So this is the spirituality, and this is the religion. The star and the fool. So now let's understand the difference between the spirituality and the religion. So what is spirituality? Spirituality is something which allows you to explore your inside, the light inside you. It is turning inward. It is trying to understand the things which are not shown to you. Spirituality is the occult science, one of the branch of science, pure science. So occult science, occult practices, the unseen realms, the powerful sources which most of us are not shown. Some of us, the really enlightened and really awakened spiritual souls, have been there, and why they don't talk about the occult is being looked as a very secretive parts of human evolution, because once you get into deeper levels of the spirituality, you get so many powers, and you are so much empowered. You are able to understand, and you are able to clearly get the thoughts of the person who is in front of you. And souls who have been there, who have explored there, the awakened souls who understand the occult world, they kept it secret because they understood that if it's been published openly, it will be misused. So they've kept hesitant, or they kept silent on most of the matters which are related to the spiritual world. And they always, the real gurus, the really awakened souls, they always gave only a simple solution, that you have to explore it yourself because it's your journey. So they kept silent, or they chose to be silent because they didn't want to create chaos in the human evolution. Okay, so spirituality is something which will keep your mind focused. Okay, your mind is nothing but, your mind is the tuned frequencies which is possible when you are able to tune the frequencies of your brain and the heart. Okay, your brain is your thought channel, and your heart is your channel of feeling or emotional channel. Okay, so when you are able to create equilibrium between your brain and your heart, then you will excel in bringing your mind into focus. The mind is the chitta. The mind is the chitta. The heart is the chetan, the consciousness. The heart is the chetana, or the consciousness. And the brain is the thought, or the buddhi. Okay, so when you bring your brain and heart frequencies match with each other, then you can create focus, balance in your mind, which will help you to explore your spiritual journey. Okay, so that is the spirituality. Now, what is religion? Religion is pure science. You may ask how? Because religion is traditions, rituals, cultures which are meant for human well-being. The generation one of religious people were very learned people. They have learned the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Shastras, the Sanskrit scripts. They were empowered with mantras, yantras, tantras. Okay, all these are the mechanical or technical terms in religion. But the generation 2 was devoid of the scientific knowledge and reasoning, and they just continued on the basis of habits, because we have learned it from generation 1, so they are all good things. They are meant for the healthy well-being of human race. They just followed it, and when it came to generation 3, it lost the healthy reasoning also, and the third generation people totally put the religion into chaos by molding and mending them into the ways which were very very self-centered and very very unhealthy. They did everything just to for discrimination, to create discrimination, to create war, to create tension, and to create so the religious rituals and customs and cultures turned into superstitions and became weapons to torture the human race physically as well as psychologically. Okay, so now let's look at the differences between the spiritual person and the religious person. Okay, the spiritual person is always right. He will not need a support or a logic, because the spiritual person knows that what he is doing is true, what he is doing is real, because he is in the path of truth, and truth is the absolute absolute reality. And through complete surrenderance to the supreme power, the person becomes a spiritual person. Okay, and it might even fascinate you to know that there are so many people who are not religious. They don't follow any religion. They are aesthetics. They are like gypsies, nomads, and they have tremendous spiritual powers. They are completely, like, totally spiritually awakened. They don't even know what spirituality is, but they are spiritually awakened, and they do things for the supporting the human race, supporting the cosmos, and they are very very compassionate. They have great levels of compassion and responsibility towards them and their societies. It can be a politician, it can be a teacher, it can be a scientist who don't understand spirituality, but they are spiritually awakened beings. Okay, that happens to many people. They don't know what spirituality is, what chakras are, what kundalini is, and their kundalini is very much active, and they do everything which a spiritual person could probably do after their kundalini is active. They work towards the creating a prosperous society and connecting themselves to the higher dimensions and deeper levels of spiritual consciousness. So that is about the spiritual person. Now let's come to the religious person. Are all religious persons spiritual? Not necessary. There are two categories of religious person. One who follows the religion blindly, that means without logics, without knowing the science behind it. They are very self-centered, and these kind of people are like human bombs who created like the biggest destruction of human mass by creating the customs like untouchability and so many other things. So no, the religious person who follow the religion blindly can never turn spiritual. But yes, the learned religious person are spiritual. So that is the difference between being a religious person and being a spiritual person. Okay, so that is the second inquiry which I tried to explain through my understanding. The difference between the religion, the spirituality and the religion. The spirituality is the occult science, and the religion is the pure science, which most of people have explored. But occult science people don't come out of their conditioned cocoon shell to explore the spiritual realms, because they are scared, because they are misguided, because they are like totally screwed up. What if, like, because occult has become such a what is the word, they misunderstand occult as black magic, but occult is actually nothing like black magic, or it is like a magic portion to give you, to empower you with the powers. Okay, so we need to explore this branch of occult science so that we can connect to the deeper roots of our spiritual realities. So that is the difference between the spirituality and the religion. And one more thing I want to add here is that to be actually spiritual, you should rise above the concept of religion, or you should have that thought or intention in you that I am the world and world is within me. I follow the religion of the world, I follow the religion of the universe, so I follow no religion. So once you have this thought that I belong to no religion, then you can rise really above in your spirituality. You can achieve your spiritual goals very, very easily without any distortion or conflict. Now let's move to the third inquiry, or the third difference, that is the deities versus the demon, or the positive forces versus the negative forces. Most of the time, the Hindu religion has become a way of source of superstitions, and a Hindu person, a Hindu follower, is unable to answer to the queries of a non-Hindu person because of the unawareness of the depth of the religion. I have been asked a number of times, how is it that you worship everything? You worship a snake, you worship a monkey, you worship a crocodile, you worship a lion, a tiger, and like everything, even a stone. And you create these images of different gods, and you create this, you worship the idol. Okay, how do you know that Lord Krishna is putting a peacock feather on his crown, and he is blowing out a flute, or he did this and that? How did you know that Ganesha has a head of an elephant, and the story behind that, and the different avatars or incarnations of the god, or the Dash avatara? So for them, let me put it like this. Actually, in the Sanatana Dharma, Hindu Dharma or Hindu religion has branched out from the Sanatana Dharma. Sanatan means the very old, or the very first, or the ancient, and Dharma is the path of righteousness. Okay, and it is believed that Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, and so on, the list is like endless. All religions originated from the Sanatana Dharma. Because we live in the country or a territory or a geographical land part which is connected to the river Indus, we became Hindus, and later the Hindus prevailed as a Hindu religion. So Sanatana Dharma, or according to the Hindu religion, we have a faith that there are around 3,300,000 deities. So 3,300,000 is a really like full battalion of deities. Now you might ask me, why do we need 3,300,000 deities? Because these 3,300 deities are grouped up in different departments, and they are empowered with different powers, so that they can the structure of the world or the life, the physical and non-physical forces, the operation of the whole cosmos will move on smoothly. And if you believe that, wow, these 3,300,000 deities are so lucky, they are empowered with special magics and forces, and they are like super beings, like, and they did not become super beings just like that. They did penance for thousands of years. They have been through very difficult paths of the spiritual realms, and they have worked really hard to earn that, and they really worth to be called deities. And these deities convince the Supreme Bhagwan, the Supreme Power, the Bhagwan, that we want to be, give us the place in the human body. So we don't want to be somewhere outside. We want to be inside the human body. So give us some place in the human body. And they are all inside us. And the major, they become the life forces. So they are there to initiate our chakras. They are waiting for us to turn spiritual, to follow our practices and methods, so that they can activate our chakras, they can awaken us, and they will also give us the golden opportunity to witness the superpowers, to explore the spiritual realms, to understand the occult part of the cosmos. Okay, and it's real, and that could be possible only through initiating the spiritual journey and moving ahead in your spiritual path to achieve your spiritual goals. Okay, and in Chinese culture, those points were referred to as acupressure points. Okay, so all those points which are the highlighters, the highlighted points in our body, are the places where deities reside. So deities are in our body. Our body is a temple. Okay, it's the biggest sophisticated and a very complex machine which is being created by our creator, that is the Brahma. Okay, so we need to love our body. We need to caress and cuddle our body, each and every part of the body. We need to touch, we need to feel, we need to love, we need to be happy with whatever kind of physical appearance we have, because this physical appearance will go by time, will diminish by time, will decrease. We have to learn to polish, we have to learn to enhance the inner beauty of the human body, and that is through the spiritual journey. There is no other way than to turn inward, because the ultimate soul of the spiritual being or the human being is to end the suffering through salvation, through liberation, through mukti, to unify with the Supreme God. Okay, so that is about the concept of the deities. Okay, so they are not gods, they are all deities. Clear? And who are these demons then? From where did they come? Who created these demons? Okay, so these demons are actually the super beings, like deities. They are also super beings, because these deities are the matter and demons are the antimatter. So as I told you in the beginning only, as the world was created, With the matter, antimatter was also created. With the positivity, negativity was also created. And the Creator gave them, and the Supreme Bhagwan gave them equal forces to explore. The Bhagwan did not differentiate that this is good, so I will only nurture the good thing and I will reduce or I will contract the negative thing. No, the God said, okay, both explore equally. Tathastu. Whoever can survive will survive. And for that, the whole vicious circle is created. The 4 yugas. The Satyug, the Dwapar Yug, the Treta Yug, and the Kali Yug. This is the last Yug. And God said, in each Yug, whenever the righteousness is about to lose its identity, I will incarnate and I will protect the whole world. We have already observed 9 incarnations of Bhagwan, and we are awaiting for the 10th incarnation, that is the Kalki avatar, which is to be happen in this Kali Yuga. And this vicious circle will end. Ending of vicious circle again doesn't mean the world will end. The 4 yugas, the 4th yuga will come to its end, and again it will, the samsara chakra or the wheel of viciousness, wheel of fortune will again start from the first, from the beginning. Okay. So when God created the deities along with the demons and he gave equal powers to them, the things which nurture the demons are our senses, the 5 senses in the human body. As our 5 senses become more self-centered, as the greed is reaches its highest peak, as the lust will reach its highest peak, as the sins will reach their highest peak, as the inhumanity will reach its highest peak, this behavior or traits of human beings will nurture the demons. And that is what is happening in the Kali Yuga. We are nurturing the demons. We are giving them the nourishment. We are giving them the food by being like showing all these traits of our 5 senses. There is 6th sense, but 6th sense is in the dormitory phase, in the recessive phase, or in the suppressive phase. So through initiating spiritual journey, we can initiate our 6th sense. Okay. So now that I have told you that human beings are nurturing the negative forces, the demons, the devils, the monsters. Okay. So you will ask me, what is the nourishment for the deities? Who is going to nourish the deities? Who is going to nourish the deities? Who are nourishing the demons? Who are nourishing the negative forces? Human beings. So definitely we are going to nourish the deities also. How? Through offering, through rituals, and all these offerings and all these rituals will be carried to the deities through the fire, through the Agni, by doing yagas. And all these ingredients which we put in the fire, in the Agni, are the Havish. These ingredients will empower, will nourish the deities. And in the Hindu Dharma, we do the morning ritual pujas and evening pujas and yagyas. And we put Havish so that they nurture the deities and they empower the deities. But that system is slowly diminishing. People don't want to worship, or people just worship because to gain some materialistic pleasures, materialistic returns. They go to temple, they worship the god because they want something from the god back. The religious has become fearful paths of achieving personal goals. Okay, and even if we are doing yagyas, all our focus is on like who has come with what gifts, or who has bought what, or who is wearing what, or who is how much rich, or who has how many girlfriends, or who is like all nonsense things, idiotic things. The people who sit in the puja, the yajmans or the hosts of the rituals, they are also busy like clicking selfies, clicking photos, talking to like important people, waiting for the VIPs to arrive to their pujas. So when you do, even if you do simple lighting a lamp, you should do with great compassion, complete surrenderance. Only then that will nurture the deities. So those who are not Hindus, those who don't do rituals, in each religion we can observe that there is a huge importance given to the fire. Okay, so just by lighting the fire, the Agni has the superpower to nourish. It conveys our prayers to the deities. Okay, so and fire is the only thing on the world or on the earth which we humans use. Only we can use fire. None of the life forces can use the fire. So fire is the supreme, like the mediator between the humans and the god, deities. I don't want to use the term god, deities. So we can nourish, we should nourish. So make a habit of lighting a lamp or camphor or some electric lamps, because light is also source of heat. Okay, enlight the place of your prayer. Or if you don't want to do that, idea is not suiting you, just by having positive affirmations, chanting mantras. And if you don't know Sanskrit mantras, you can create your own mantras for your own well-being. Okay, so feel responsible for your own well-being and also for the people around you. Okay, understand the difference between selfishness and self-centeredness. Selfishness is human nature, and self-centeredness is the human ego. Kill your ego. Kill your ego and nurture your compassion, nurture your love. Okay, so that is the difference between the positivity and the negativity, the deities versus the demon, the matter versus the antimatter, because that is how the world is created. And the creator has no difference. Creator has given the equal opportunity to both. Now it is in our hands, in the hands of human beings, which one we want to prevail, which one we want to empower, this or this. Okay, so that is about this inquiry. Now let's move to the fourth inquiry, that is the real guru and the mastermind. Real guru versus mastermind. Why I don't want to use the word, the abusive word, or say the harsh words for this card, is because knowingly or unknowingly, these masterminds most of the time turn to be the source of most of us to initiate our spiritual journey. Okay, though they have made the spirituality their business, but their offerings or their guarantees or their assurances are so strong that we initiate our spiritual journey without awareness because of these masterminds. Okay, and if you are awarded with specific spiritual goals, or if you're a light worker or you have a mission for your life, you will be awarded with the guru. So as a spiritual seeker, my question was like, where can I find my guru? Because most of the religious scripts, they claim that you can attain your spiritual goals, or you can end the suffering, you will get the mukti only through the guidance of a real guru. So you have to wait for a real guru. Without a real guru, you should forcefully not try to initiate, activate your chakras, or do some practices which will activate your kundalini, because it will be very scareful, painful, and it will be very fatal. So you have to wait for your activation of your chakras and your kundalini to move upwards towards your crown chakra, and that can be only happening, or that should happen only in the presence of a real guru. So I was waiting for my guru, and I have so many questions like, who will be my guru, where will I find my guru, how can I seek to my guru, or how and when and where is my guru. So through my learning, I understood what I understood, or what I perceived, is guru is nowhere outside. If your spiritual goal is destined, which is really predestined, if you are a light worker, if you are here to help the human race, if you are here to help the cosmos, the planetary forces, when the real time comes, the guru will appear in front of you. Guru will come in search of their disciple. Guru can be a male, a female, or guru can be the light inside you. For most of the spiritual seekers, unless and until they find the guru, they should consider the intuitions, the vibrations of the mind, which comes from the equilibrium of the heart and the brain, as their guru. Okay, the physical appearance of guru will come into their life when it is the time for the guru to enter. We don't need to go and find this or search for the guru. Guru will come and find their students. That is what is said by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so I also understand that Lord Krishna is the real guru. He was in real confusion so as to fight to his own brothers, fathers, uncles and grandfathers. Krishna was the one who have shown him the path of righteousness. He said for the dharma to prevail, for the righteousness to win, you have to kill your own siblings, your own family members, if you want to protect the righteousness, if you want to protect the dharma. And those preachings are in the Bhagavad Gita. And one more thing I strongly recommend is, if you have initiated your spiritual journey, or if you are in the inquiry of spirituality, the first thing you need to promise to yourself is that you will once read the Bhagavad Gita. I'm saying read because you will not understand the Bhagavad Gita unless the real time will come. You might read the Bhagavad Gita number of times, but you will be able to perceive and you will be able to understand it only when the right time will come. And when the right time will come, you will know when Lord Krishna will show you, or when Lord Krishna will put his light on the Bhagavad Gita. Because Lord Krishna is the only supreme power, the supreme power, the ultimate power, the Bhagwan. I have no offense to any religion, but Jesus, Prophet Muhammad, the Mahavira, and the other deities, they said that we are the messengers of the God. Jesus never said, I am God. He said, I am the messenger of the God. Prophet Muhammad never said, I am the God. He said, I am the messenger of the Allah. Okay, Jesus said, I am the son of the Supreme. Okay, but Lord Krishna, in number of times, number of incidents, he said that I am the Supreme, I am the ultimate, I am the Bhagwan. And I will be coming to the earth in my 10 avatars, 10 reincarnations. And what he said came true one after other, and we are waiting for his 10th reincarnation as Kalki in this Kali Yuga, so that he will lead all of us from darkness to the light, to the divine light. Okay, so the real teacher is the Lord Krishna. And once he gives you the indication that, dear child, this is the time to look into the Bhagavad Gita, understand that your guru has started searching for his student. So when the right time comes, the guru will also come in search of his right student. Till then, you consider the Bhagavad Gita as your guru, Lord Krishna as your guru, and embrace your light inside you, the intuitions inside you, the conscious mind inside you as your guru. Okay, now I don't think there is much to discuss about the masterminds, because for them spirituality and the spiritual practices, the yoga practices, have become a source of earning billions of dollars. And if somebody promises you that I am enlightened and come to me, I will teach you all the methods and all the ways so that you also will become enlightened. I can activate your chakras instantly. I can attain you the path of Kundalini within 30 days or within 60 days or within this much limited time, and you pay me some 1,000 rupees or some dollars. You understand that this is not the place you meant to be. This is not place for you. This is not the place for the real spiritual seekers, because there is no materialistic give and take between a guru and a disciple. Okay, so that's what I have for this masterminds, that the spiritual, the guru, the real guru versus the mastermind. And the last difference, or the last inquiry which pricked my conscious mind constantly by now, is the physical body versus the soul. This is our physical body. As I've already told, that our physical body is the most sophisticated and the complex machine, and which whoever claims, the MBBS, the MD, the doctor, the surgeon, the scientist, how much ever they claim we know the whole human body, they don't know even an inch of human body. Otherwise, they will assure you after a treatment that this disease will not come into your life again, because they will say that we can only pray, we can only hope, we can hope for miracles. Okay, so human body for a normal human being is just the outer beauty, the complexion of the skin, the luster of the hair, the flawlessness of the skin, the assets, the height, the smile, the voice, the beauty. But you have to also understand very significantly that this will decrease day by day, and this will not remain forever. So you should accept to age gracefully, and you should be able to accept that you are a spiritual being, and that you have to have control over your five senses. You should not make your outer beauty the dominant side of your nature or of your perception. You should also understand that there is soul inside us, and this soul has been coming into life again and again, because it wants to end the suffering, it wants to achieve the mukti, salvation, it wants to unite with the Supreme Lord, mix with the supreme power. It wants to have the bliss and the ecstasy. It wants to feel the exuberant energy of uniting with the Supreme Lord, the Bhagwan. Okay, and that could happen only by bringing all your chakras into alignment, cleansing your chakras, and waiting for a real guru, so that the real guru will come and activate your chakras and your kundalini, and will make you a spiritually complete being who is spiritually awakened. Okay, so these are some of the inquiries which took away my sleep, which made me so much eager, so that until I got the understanding or the experience or the solutions, or at least the proper guidance from the sources which I have been reading. I do lots of reading. Okay, and then I do lots of checking, then I'll do lots of discussing through all that channels. I have come to this understanding, which I have got the opportunity to share with you today. So I hope you liked my video upon putting some light between the differences, which is the source of origin. And so Thank you very much for tuning into my channel. Goddess White Tara shall bless us all. Lots of blessings from Goddess White Tara. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you very much. Bye bye.